welcome to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register, and every week we bring you news and information you can use on your next real estate transaction. Today we are literally talking about the real estate transaction from contract to close. The whole show is on contract to closing, and it's a huge process. It's a huge undertaking to purchase a home. And the reason why the consumer doesn't always feel that huge process is because they have the realtor taking care of a lot of the behind the scenes stuff for them. So that's really what we want to talk about today is what are all these things that are happening behind the scenes. If you've never purchased a property, then certainly you want to hear today's show because it's going to help you when you do get ready to purchase. If you're in a transaction, it may explain a little bit of the downtime and the waiting, because nowadays a contract that has financing many times is going to take up to 45 days because of some of the changes that have taken place in regulations. And I think that this is a really good show today for anyone who's thinking about buying or selling at any point in time, because we're going to take you through the process, all the people involved, the ins and outs of it, and you'll see how complex it is. And then that might explain a little bit of the behind the scenes work going on, but not only that, help you to understand why it's so complex and why things sometimes slip through the cracks, because there are so many people involved, and that's what your realtor is really there for. And that's why it's so important to have a good realtor who can hold it all together, who can stay accountable for everything and keep everyone on track and on task and make sure that nothing is lost, nothing is missed. So, I think it'll be a great show today. I'm excited about it. We've got North American Title weighing in on the title perspective. We've got a lender weighing in on our lending perspective. And then, of course, our inspector who sponsors the show is going to come on and talk to us, Joe Poole. He does some great inspections, and he's going to talk about that process, because that is such an important piece, because that can break a deal right there. If you have an inspector that really scares the buyers into all the horrible things that are wrong with the house, I can guarantee you every house has something wrong with it. There isn't a perfect house out there. So you want an inspector who is going to be honest and thorough and explain things to you, not just scare you about the house. And then this segment, I'm going to be talking with one of our agents over at Register Real Estate Advisors. Chris Childress is going to be here talking about the process that the realtor goes through from contract to close. So we're excited about today's show. If you've got a real estate question or any question about the transaction, you can call us at 844-788-9444. That number again is 844-788-9444, and we'll be happy to answer your real estate questions right here on the air every Sunday between 11 and noon. And if you miss any of today's show, catch us online at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. And we're on Facebook. So there are lots of great places to find you and me, right, Chris?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's start the whole contract to close process. I can guarantee you that most of the people out there are thinking that the whole process starts when they go look at a house with a realtor.
Well, it doesn't start at that point. The initial phone call that comes in is where it all starts. There's a lot of research, and first kind of researching the client themselves and identifying what their wants and needs and what it is that they're after, and then it really all starts at that point. So with that very first phone call, it's time for us to get to work.
Yeah, and making sure they're pre-approved, getting that mortgage lender involved up front. I'm amazed at the realtors who will go show properties and they don't have proof of funds for the client.
Yeah,
they don't know if they can afford the property.
Yeah.
And no seller wants anybody going through their house that is not qualified to purchase that house.
Yeah, it's unfair to the sellers. It's definitely unfair to the buyers, because it creates false expectations and gets that false hope built up. It's counterproductive as an agent. It's not dollar productive behavior for us. So it's definitely something we want to take care of up front.
So lots of research goes on behind the scenes to kind of figure out the right homes to show someone. And then when you know what they qualify for and you can get them in the right house, they go out and start looking, and once they find the right one, write an offer. That's really the beginning that puts everything into motion, is writing the offer.
Yes. Yeah. Once they find the house that they love and you're in the right community, and there's even a little bit more work that has to be done even before that. We want to do a market analysis to make sure that the house is priced right and it's a fair deal for the buyer, so we can advise them on how to structure that offer. And then of course comes the paperwork, which there's quite a bit.
A mountain of paperwork.
Yes.
A mountain of paperwork. So once you write the offer, then you go into, usually you get an option period.
Yes.
Let's talk about the option period because it's important, and not all states do an option period.
Right.
So people moving to Texas oftentimes don't understand what that option period is.
Yes. Yeah. It's not required, but it is definitely advisable. And we're, as a buyer's agent, we're going to, recommend that all of our buyers take advantage of that. And it's basically where the buyer will offer up a consideration. Generally, it's $100, and that buys you 10 days. And what that does is gives you the opportunity to terminate that contract really for any reason during that predetermined amount of time. And that allows you time to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row with regard to inspections and everything else, and to do some preliminary research on the property to make sure it's going to fit everything that you plan on using it for.
So that's your time to do your due diligence.
Yes.
And that could be any kind of inspections, general inspections, pool inspections, termite inspections, stucco inspections. There's so many types of inspections, roof inspections, HVAC, anything that you want to have inspected, you do during that due diligence time, which is your option period. And the option period varies. It could be, 3 days, 10 days, 12 days. It really varies. It's completely negotiable. And then, of course, the amount of money is negotiable. It has to be worth it to the seller to allow you to go in and do the due diligence and for them to take the house off the market. You're basically paying them to take the house off the market and hold it for you.
That's correct.
That's what that option period is.
Yeah.
Okay, once you get the inspections done, which Joe Poole will be in a little while to talk to us about inspections and kind of his process for inspections and what he's looking for and doing as he's working for the buyer to do due diligence on the house. After the inspection process, sometimes there are things that the buyer wants fixed on the house, corrected.
Yes.
If they find that, it has a cracked foundation, or they find that it has an electrical problem, whatever the issue is that's important to the buyer,
right,
that's when they're going to ask for the seller to come back and possibly fix it, possibly pay money towards it.
Right.
Some sort of negotiation.
Right.
So sometimes there's a negotiation for repairs. I would say oftentimes there's something. Every house has something. Yeah,
and it's almost expected. To be the case. And you want to advise your client up front. Part of what we want to do is once we get that inspection report back, we kind of get some feedback from the inspector himself. Of course, he's just delivering facts, and then we want to review that with the buyer and kind of talk about what's important to them and what's not, and what's normal and what's not, and that kind of stuff, because those things would kind of be intimidating to that buyer.
So after the inspection's done and after any negotiations are done, and you can either end the option period early if you get everything figured out. You can actually end it early, which will put your mortgage in process, because the mortgage is kind of on hold until you finish the option period, because they don't want to start paying for appraisals and stuff if the buyer is going to back out. So you have these days for the buyer to be able to back out, called the option period. And if they back out during that time, then they don't have to pay. They don't lose their earnest money.
That's correct. It's refunded to them.
Right. So once you get past that point, you've got surveys that have to be done. You have an appraisal that has to be done if you've got a lender involved.
Right.
And then you've got your title company doing all of their behind the scenes stuff, which they're going to be in later to talk to us about what they're doing. And then you have your mortgage company doing all the mortgage stuff behind the scenes.
Right.
There's a lot of different people involved doing different things. And the realtor is really the one that pulls it all together and makes sure that everything stays on track and gets done. Between them and the lender, they're kind of the drivers,
the
I think.
There's a lot of communication and a lot of moving parts on the backside that's happening.
A lot of scheduling. You got to schedule that surveyor. You got to schedule and then there are other things like the warranty. If the buyer is going to get a warranty, that has to be ordered by someone. So a lot of different pieces out there, and I know we'll get more into mortgage and title later and inspections. The appraiser is ordered by the bank.
Yes.
So really no one has control over that except the bank.
That's correct.
The seller doesn't choose them. The buyer doesn't choose them. That's the bank, and that's usually by a third party, not even the lender.
That's correct.
And then your surveyor.
That's normally done by title.
Normally title just orders one. I mean, you can pick one if you want, but normally title just orders it. So, and finally, after all these different things happen, you finally get to go close.
Yeah, you get set up for closing, and as you approach that, there's a lot of review and information, and basically just translating all the pieces to the buyer or the seller, whichever party we represent.
Are you seeing most of your loans right now on residential properties take 45 days to close?
No, not really.
They're closing early.
Yeah, with everything happening, or kind of getting streamlined and the guidelines tightening up and everything, it's really become foolproof, so it's happening pretty quickly. So
that's good. All right, Chris, you're a realtor here at Register Real Estate Advisors. Tell us how people can find you if they want to call you and get you started on this whole process of contract to close and getting them into something.
I'm always available on my cell phone, which is 713-408-8007, and you can always email me at chris@rrea.com.
All right, we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors here on Houston Real Estate Radio. We're going to have our title company weigh in, our lender weighing in, and also an inspector. So we'll be right back talking more about contract to close here on Houston Real Estate Radio.
Imagine you and your family return from a tropical vacation to find that one of your pipes burst, flooding your entire house. Are you fully covered? Will you only receive $100 for your TV that cost you $2,000 just 2 years ago? Will your insurance company pay for you to live in a hotel while your home is being repaired? What if on that same trip you lose your wedding ring? Will your home insurance coverage replace that as well? All insurance policies are not created equal. If you don't know the answer to these questions, you're not alone. Most people don't understand the gaps in their coverage until it's too late. Call Goosehead Insurance today and let one of our agents review your current policy to ensure that you are fully covered. At Goosehead Insurance, we understand the power of choice. Instead of working for a single insurance company, our agents have access to over 20 A-rated carriers. This allows us to craft a policy to fit your particular lifestyle, budget, and needs. It also enables us to reshop your policy in the future if necessary, saving you time and money. No need to look for another agent. At Goosehead, we've got you covered. Our agents will walk you through each policy decision so that you have the coverage you need. If that's not reason enough, talk to one of our happy clients. Our client satisfaction scores are 3 times the industry average. To experience the Goosehead Insurance difference, visit us online at goosehead.com or call us at 800-474-1377.